Have to excuse the audio in here. Our freeze dryer is going like it's been going ever since we got it, trying to preserve all the eggs. We have some things going on the farm today. One is we picked a whole bunch of peaches and we need to do something with them, so I think we're gonna work on that. And then we discovered this morning that our cow has mastitis. That's the first time we've dealt with something like that. The protocol for that is to first try your best to drain the teat completely, and then do it again in a few hours, which that's what we're gonna do right now. So we discovered it this morning. It's been a few hours. It's not looking great. So I get in the family cow group over on Facebook and ask questions there. And people recommended this thing called Today. It's sort of an antibiotic that you just basically put into the quarter that has the mastitis. And so we're gonna attempt that, which we've never done anything like this, but I think we can do it. We definitely have to do something. And if that doesn't work, we're gonna have to move on to antibiotics that aren't just local in that particular spot. I also got some coconut oil mixed with peppermint oil because mint is supposed to help. We're just gonna massage it and get every last bit out that we can. I'm gonna use this to massage and get all the milk out, and then this stuff, you're supposed to put, no, you can't touch it, it's out of reach of children, into the affected quarter, and then you're supposed to not drink milk for 96 hours during treatment. This area that's clogged, it hurts really bad. She doesn't want you touching it.
Why is it clogged?
I don't know how it happens, but it does tend to happen with dairy cows. The teat itself?
Maybe.
I don't think it looks so good.
No.
I'm gonna definitely massage it. She's not gonna like it. It does look bigger than the other one, but not as much. Okay, that was much easier than I expected. Now hopefully it just works. We have to repeat that. It said in 12 hours, but it's gonna be like the middle of the night in 12 hours. So we're just gonna do it first thing in the morning. That should be good. And then we're not allowed to drink the milk for 96 hours from any of the quarters, I believe. I could double research that, but I'm pretty sure it's from any of the quarters. So good thing we have a pretty good amount in the fridge, because then we'd be out of milk for a while. Now we're gonna turn our attention to the peaches that we picked. The other day, we went to the peach orchard near my house, and I gave the kids all bags. And last time we went picking, we were doing blackberries and blueberries. And so I gave my kids all just like, you know, let them go, free reign to pick whatever they want. And I kind of forgot just how fast peach picking is. And so they ended up with way more peaches than we really wanted to mess with, but that's okay. We're going to do it. We have a gallon of peach puree, 2 juiced lemons, and then we're gonna do 2/3 of a cup of pectin and about 4 cups of sweetener. We've done honey in the past, but I don't have enough right now. So we're just gonna do sugar, and we'll taste it and make sure that that's good. Let's try 3 cups, taste it, and then go from there because these are pretty sweet. And we did 4 cups when we did strawberries, and strawberries sometimes aren't as sweet as peaches. Okay, we're also gonna add some cinnamon. This will be something we're gonna have for a long time because we have so much, obviously, and so this will be good for fall. We're skimming off the foam on top. There we go. We're still gonna eat that because delicious. In fact, I bet Theo would like it. Joanna and I were just talking about how if we have a lot left after we fill all of our jars because we have so many peaches, we could try a tray in the freeze dryer. So that might be something we do, and then we could reconstitute it as a peach sauce, kind of like an applesauce, and then give it to Theo in the winter or even now. So we might try that. All right, 1 more cup of sugar. We've reached a consensus that we're gonna do 1 more cup. Meanwhile, we're sterilizing jars, and then the way we did this with our strawberry jam that we did last year is we cook it until it's a little bit thickened. Because we're doing a low sugar recipe, you have to cook it a little bit longer from my understanding before it really sets up. Worked great with our strawberry jam. Okay, another thing we're gonna make tonight is chili because we have so many tomatoes from our garden. So I have some beans soaking. We'll get these cooking. Okay, I have a few preserving tasks that I want to do before wrapping up this homestead vlog. Basically, I've just been taking you around, turning on the camera and sharing things that are going on. So there's been a lot of picking and preserving this time of year. As you can see, I have a lot of zucchini, some that should have been picked a long time before they were. But nonetheless, I have a few things I want to try. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ferment these banana peppers from our garden. I'm gonna do this in the exact same way that I do my jalapenos, which essentially I make a brine by dissolving 2.5 tablespoons of salt in a quart of water. So I have a little bit of water here on the stove I'm gonna grab. I like to dissolve it first and then dilute it down so that it's not hot when it hits the vegetables. I'm just using my Redmond real salt. I've mentioned them on here before. If you're interested in checking out Redmond, I get a large bucket of salt at a time so that I never run out of salt. For things like fermenting and homemade bone broth, you can use my link bit.ly/farmhouse Redmond. I believe there's also a coupon code, or not a coupon code, but a coupon associated with that link. If not, use the code farmhouse. I'm pretty sure if you have to use a code, that's what it would be. I'm just gonna add this to my quart jar and then fill it with cool water so that it's not hot. If the water was boiling hot, it could kill a lot of the good bacteria that's on the surface of the vegetables. And that's what with fermenting you're trying to grow. You're trying to get those good bacteria to grow and take over, which will happen in the right environment, which salty water is the environment for that. But you don't want to start off by killing all of those good bacteria. That's the process of lacto-fermentation. It's how we keep so many things like cabbage, carrots, cucumbers preserved for extended periods of time, but not super long term. We're not talking years, we're just talking more months than they would otherwise keep. So it's really perfect if you're growing your food in the summer for the winter, not necessarily for the next few years like canning or freeze drying, but just for the upcoming year ahead. Plus, it adds in good bacteria. So that's one of the main reasons I like fermenting vegetables, is it gives it that vinegary, pickly, sour taste. But then you also get the probiotics. So when you when you get pickles from the store, those probiotics are gone because they've used vinegar, they've canned it. This is a way to have that taste, but yet all that good nutrition too. So it's like taking a probiotic, except for you're just cultivating it yourself. Now, I'm gonna have a lot of brine left over. I need to go make sure I don't have a whole bunch more peppers in the garden because I can use this same brine. I'll just, basically any vegetable that I cover with this brine will ferment. Now the key to vegetables staying crispy is the right amount of salt and then also not fermenting too quickly. So if you have a cooler spot to put your vegetables, that is ideal, because if it's like 80 degrees in your house, the vegetables will ferment really quickly, and then that can make them actually be mushy faster. So you want to slow that process down a bit if you struggle with that. All right. Since this is a very small batch, I'm just going to use my pint jar instead of my quart jar. Now you can use a weight, you don't have to. If you are curious about all the details of this and you want like a more extended video, check out my fermenting vegetables video here on YouTube. I also have a blog post that goes with it. I'll leave it below, but if you just search vegetable fermentation, farmhouse on Boone, you'll be able to find it real easy. So the goal though is just to keep it submerged below the brine. You can use like an onion peel or a folded cabbage leaf or a weight. I'm just gonna use this weight and then this fermenting top. You don't have to have these, but oxygen is the enemy of this process. And so if you want to avoid mold, a good thing to do is have an airtight seal. But if you do that, you have to burp it every day or pretty often, otherwise the gases could build up. So I just use these. They let the gases out but keep the oxygen also out of the jar. I'm just going to put this in my pantry for probably about a week. I've left them way longer and it always works out. So I'm just going to throw that in my pantry and we'll have some nice fermented banana peppers in about a week. And the next thing I'm going to try, actually, probably should make some pickles, but yeah, I'm going to do that actually. Right now, I'm going to just go ahead and turn these cucumbers into pickles. Since I have this brine already made, I'm trying to decide, I think I'm going to do spears. These are pretty small cucumbers. You don't want to do really big cucumbers and spears. The key is to introduce tannins. Lots of things have tannins. Oak leaves, bay leaves, actually, grape leaves all have tannins. I'm just gonna add bay leaves because that's what I have right now. Basically, I'm just gonna use this brine. So however many I can fit in here is what I'm gonna do right now. Might let a little bit spill over in case I can use it for something else. Bay leaves here. Put these in. You could also add in some garlic cloves or peppercorns, all really good for flavor. I'm gonna skip that because I actually don't even like pickles, but my kids love them. So I'm gonna keep these really basic. Obviously dill is great for them. probably ought to make more of these, honestly. Just do the rest of them before these pickles go bad. This will preserve them for several months, but they won't last that long because my kids really like pickles. Okay, that's probably the extent of this jar here. I really won't need a weight because they're so tightly packed. I don't think anything's gonna come up. Actually, I do have one coming up. I'm just gonna wedge it better rather than adding a weight. There we go. Now she's wedged. Okay. Now let's put on the lid, and that's going in the pantry. Might pull off some of these seeds here. Not super important, these seeds that are floating at the top, but they could grow some mold. So I'm gonna get a lot of them off. I've never had any issues though with fermented vegetables. I get a lot of people who wonder about safety and they're worried, you know, what if I get sick from this? To be completely honest, I've probably taken some liberties in the directions and it's been completely okay. In fact, we've just enjoyed great health from all of these fermented foods that we incorporate all the time. All right, next thing I'm gonna try, this is new to me, I've never done this, but I've heard wonderful things. I'm going to freeze dry some of my zucchini because there's really not, in my opinion, a great way to preserve zucchini. I've frozen it. We obviously eat it fresh, but there is something left to be desired whenever you take it out of the freezer. It just is mushy, doesn't maintain the best texture. And so I'm gonna try freeze drying it. I wanna do it a few different ways. One way I've read about is shredding it. And then storing it dried to make zucchini fritters or pancakes or zucchini bread or adding it into omelets or whatever all winter long. The other is to make zucchini chips. So essentially you dry them in rounds and then add salt and they're crispy. So we're gonna try that. I've also read about doing that with sweet potatoes. I really wanna try that, but this is more pressing because zucchini don't keep a super long time. I'm just gonna, I don't know, do like 1/4 inch-ish. I'm sure the bigger you do it, the longer it's gonna take to freeze dry. I'm gonna experiment with this. Also, ideally, you'll cook your zucchini at a little bit of an earlier time so they're not quite this large. I'm gonna try one with salting it afterward and one with salting it before. I don't know. I'll let you all know which one ends up being better at the end of this. My freeze dryer though is empty and ready to go, so I'm gonna get a batch of these going. I'll probably do all chips this time around and then do another batch all shreds. Just see how it goes. Last night I got going in my mixer my cinnamon raisin sourdough bread recipe. So when I first got married, I learned how to make bread without sourdough, with yeast. And when I first started doing sourdough, I just started I made all of my usual recipes except with sourdough instead of yeast. I didn't do stretching and folding or Bannatyne baskets or refrigerator rises. I just made my regular bread, but with sourdough starter as the yeast. So this recipe is based on that. I used to make a cinnamon raisin loaf that makes the best French toast. It's so delicious. And I haven't shared it on here in a while, but to get the dough going, I will just read you my recipe. Last night before bed, I did a cup of starter, a half a cup of oil, a half a cup of honey, a tablespoon of salt, 1.5 cups of water, and 6 cups of flour. Now you can do whole grain. I used to make this exclusively with whole grain. I've also done it more lately with all purpose as well. Knead it until it's nice and stretchy and then let it ferment overnight up to 24 hours. And then divide it in two. And then I got going just a few hours ago, the raisins in some water because I really like whenever they aren't so hard. So I'm just gonna strain these off. They're nice and soft now, not super soft, but more chewy for the bread. And then I'm just gonna get these raisins in the bowl with some, I'm almost out of cinnamon, so I'm just gonna put what I have. And then I have a little bit of cinnamon sugar mixture that I made a long time ago. I'll throw some of that in, and then a little brown sugar as well. As you can see, I'm very precise with this. This is a really comforting, nice recipe for fall. I'm not thinking about fall over here, okay? Trust me. You start to think about it whenever the days are getting a little bit shorter, the pool's closing during the week, our swim lessons are ending. We have a good month or two, actually, of warm weather ahead of us. But you do start to think about it. All right, next I'm gonna get one of these, roll it out. Almost like cinnamon rolls. About half of the cinnamon sugar mixture all over it. Maybe sprinkle it with just a bit more brown sugar. This is optional. I used to make this, not that I'm not a health nut now, but I used to be way more committed. I used to do 100% whole wheat and then just raisins, no sugar. You can 100% do that and it's very delicious. I like to press the raisins in a bit. I'm really going for that swirl effect whenever I cut into it later. And you don't even have to roll this up at all. I used to, when I made this, just basically knead the raisins right in with it. This is just to make it pretty when you cut into it, so you don't have to do that. Grease this with a bit of coconut oil, and then place it in seam side down. Then I'm going to let it rise another hour or so before baking it. All right guys, some of them already have salt on them from freeze drying, so they're crispy. I don't know which ones have salt, so I guess just add a little salt and then try a bite and see if they're any good this way or if we should just do the shreds. I know the shreds would be a good idea.
Here, guys.
For real?
Good?
Do you not like
Delicious.
it? Be honest.
It's so good.
People want to know.
Well,
So Eli, do you like it or not? We need it.
I like it. It could be a bit thinner though.
Okay, so just cut them really thin.
I like them. Mom, can I take this? You know, without the salt, they have kind of a fruity taste like that.
Really?
Can I take this?
Yes. So if we don't like them as chips,
They have like a kind of fruity taste like the watermelon kind of.
huh? If they're not good as chips, we can just reconstitute them and saute them with butter.
Could we try reconstituting one?
Sure.
So then the water's gonna be, yeah. I think, I've heard it's supposed to be warmed. So you just put this in.
Supposed to absorb back up the water.
Yeah, but it's floating, so.
Are you is it starting to feel like a regular zucchini slice?
Almost. The edges on this side are still a little hard, but I think it takes a minute.
I don't even know if I would do that. I mean, this is fun, but I think for actually cooking, I wouldn't even do it that way. Because I feel like one of the things about zucchini, whenever you saute it, is it's too moist,
Wet.
like too wet, yeah.
So like we just don't even reconstitute it?
Yeah, just,
Fun to try though.
yeah, it is fun
I
to try.
think it feels normal.
Yeah, it really does. It feels totally normal.
Totally normal.
That's funny. All right, well, thanks so much for following along with us here on the homestead. Stay tuned, I'll update you on the cow. It's been a few days since we first found out she had mastitis and we're still dealing with it, but it's definitely getting better. As always, thank you so much for watching. And if you're brand new to my channel, follow along for more videos like this, food from scratch, natural living, and a handmade home. Thank you so much for stopping by our farmhouse.